Okay. So, Happy New Year. Um, Today I'm going to talk about elements of engagement, which, um, it's that Q12 portion that's in It's the Manager book, this book, close up. Um, but it is very much tied into a strength-based philosophy. Gallup came up with this Q12. They studied um, team performance and engagement over the past couple of decades, and they studied like 230 organizations. So it's not just workplace, it's schools, it's universities, it's religious organizations. And it was like almost 2 million employees, 49 industries, and 73 different countries to come up with these 12 elements of engagement. And it's determined by factors of you having a clear picture of what your role is. And in your role as a manager, with the opportunity of using your strengths, that's when you're going to, see the most success. By building relationships with your coworkers or the people you manage, and when you understand and believe in what the work we do, the mission and purpose, that's like the sweet spot. So there's so much that is in your hands that you probably don't even think about. And it's everything. And employee engagement is the difference between loving your job and hating your job. And, sometimes work is very emotional too, right? And when we focus on like the emotional impact of work, that's where the opportunity to uncover or correct any roadblocks that come about. So these 12 things matter because they're related to business, like things like turnover, productivity, customer satisfaction, safety, quality, and more. And these are the things that separate a high performing team from a low performing team. And they're all things that a lot of these things are kind of in your control. So I will start my presentation. So what is employee engagement? It may seem like one of those buzzwords that float around, but really, doesn't amount to much. But the truth of the matter is, it's really a powerful concept about how you can improve the culture of the environment you're in and hopefully improve its bottom line. I mean, obviously, businesses want engaged employees because it's costly. So by actively engaging employees. So what is an engaged employee? It's, I think you can probably tell the difference. I bet you that you've seen both, right, in your world, but involved in, enthusiastic, committed, contribute in a positive manner. They're people who go above and beyond. They're enthusiastic, they're 100% committed to their jobs, and that makes them energetic and excited, and they thrill at the challenge of work every day. They're typically people who understand their strengths and talents and use them a lot in their jobs. And what they find is people who are engaged are healthier, they're less stressed, they worry less depressed and angry. So that means less sick days, right? And don't you want this in your workplace? Yes. So, what does the opposite of this look like? Of what an engaged employee looks like? Just think about it. Just the complete opposite. People just show up and do their time. They don't go over and above. Like, I'm done it too. I'm done it too. You're not getting any extra out of me. Or they're not excited or motivated. They're more like neutral or just downright bored. And they lack commitment to their work. Their work is kind of mediocre. They don't really care. You know, is this happening in your kitchen? It could be a sign of a broken culture. And Gallup estimates that low morale or disengagement costs the global economy $8 trillion a year. I mean, I don't know how they figure that out, but that's a lot of money. So why is it important? I'm not gonna read all these, but when you have engaged employees and they're passionate, they're gonna show up, take pride, they pitch in. So this is why we want to engage employees. We don't want the turnover. I mean, I'm sure that we've all experienced, I think, in the last couple of years, turnover and how long it takes to fill positions. So we really, really want to keep our people, especially if they're good quality people, on hand and not going elsewhere. And I think what you find is when you have an engaged employee, you know, it's not all about the money. Yeah, the money is super important, benefits are super important. But if you side by side, if you had two organizations that basically pay the same amount, and one is a environment that is more engaged, cares about you more, you're definitely, absolutely, positively going to want to work in that better culture and morale, that kind of an organization. So I had mentioned this kind of in the opening, but these are all the things that when you have engaged employees, this is the output: greater profitability, productivity, better quality. People show up, they don't call out, less theft, and fewer safety incidents, and just basically a more pleasant environment, right? So facts are feelings, or feelings are facts. So I think we can all agree that emotions are at play every day, and probably more so that we're predominantly women in our workspace, right? So, you know, the relationships between you and your employees or coworkers, you know, affects whether they feel valued and respected and whether they feel their opinions count. So I like these statistics. I don't quite know where they came from, but 70% of our decisions are emotional and 30 are only rational. So keep that in mind when people are making decisions and maybe they've made bad decisions. You know, and that's why it's so important for us as managers to be self-aware. Emotional intelligence, it's so key for managers. That's why I said that in one of my emails, the best leaders are self-aware leaders. So you have, like, in your hands your top 10 strengths. This is your sweet spot, right? And you know, we're all humans, we're not robots, and everyone has feelings. And I think hurt feelings are the majority of the reasons for disagreements and misunderstandings. And just keeping that in mind, that 70% are emotional, you got to keep that front of mind, I think, and just understanding how you react to certain things is as helpful for the well-being and the culture and the morale of the whole group, right? If you know you're going to fly off the handle about something, you know that about yourself. You know, if you can freely admit it, that self-awareness, maybe you could pull back or take a breath or find another strategy. So managers matter. Like, I've been saying this forever. Since I've been a school nutrition director, when I was on the SNA board, I was always harping on managers matter, which is why I developed this. I just think that there's not, you know, they teach us all about meal patterns and, you know, all that jazz, but they don't teach us how to deal with people, you know. And if our people aren't happy or aren't producing, or there's issues, you're sunk. So anyway, managers matter. So when you work for an engaged manager, you're more likely to be engaged. So, 60%, that's major, right? So that's why all this is so critically important. Um, and, sometimes, I've heard food service directors say, oh, if they're breathing, I hire them. No, not a good practice. You should hire the right person, even if it takes a little longer, because it's only, it's trouble. So if I'm sure that you guys don't do the interviewing, but as a director, I try to listen for things, and if it's not the right person, I'm not hiring them just because they're breathing. So here's some more statistics for you. So 69% of employees are engaged when their manager helps them set performance goals, which I'll probably talk about a little bit later. So goals that the employee sets for themselves are, they're invested in them, they're more likely to achieve those goals versus someone setting a goal for you. Like, so say you said, okay, Susie, I want you to make 30 salads today in these 30 minutes. If she sets it, she's going to be more invested in it. So I think encouraging people to set their own goals and being there, that's a great, you may see in your book, I don't know how much you've read in the manager book, but there's a couple of chapters called Boss to Coach. So what we want to do is start shifting that boss type of mentality, wagging your finger and giving all the instructions, to more of a coaching role, like encouraging goal setting, or finding out what people like to do, what you think they're good at, and trying to position them. So 71% of employees who are actively disengaged when their managers focus on weaknesses. Now, we talked about this in probably the second, I probably talk about it every time that I'm on here, but focusing on weaknesses is not good. It's, but that's traditionally what we've all been led to think is the best way and to do things. But if there's any way to actively disengage your employee, it's to focus on their weaknesses. And then this one is shattering, but 50% of employees leave their jobs because of a bad manager. I don't know if any of you have been in that situation, but I almost think it's higher. There's an expression, people don't quit their jobs, they quit their bosses. So and this is super important, that 70% of the variance in team engagement is determined solely by the manager. No pressure here, ladies, but you're driving the bus. And it's the keystone. A great manager is the keystone to employee engagement. So, and it's fine and good, and it's great to promote people from within. I don't know how many of you were, started out as line staff and moved your way up, which is fantastic, excellent. But you need support, right? If you've never managed people, you need help. Like, some people are kind of intuitive about this and get it and, understand people and stuff, but there are just some things that, if you're never educated about it or taught about it, you guys have the upper hand being in this class, honestly, because a lot of people don't know this stuff and they go around aimlessly and they can't figure out why they're failing their staff or they're having issues. So kudos to you for being here. But we gotta remember to keep the people over the product, right? Put the people first. I think that was Richard Branson that says, if you take care of your people, they're going to take care of the business. So, cultures and developing a thriving culture, it takes more than just like policies. There's just a lot of things, and that's really what we're going to get into with these elements of engagement. So, as we mentioned, only 10 of people have a combination of attributes that make a great manager. Like I said, there are some people who naturally are good at it. There are others that have to work at it, which is fine. But it's just that reality. So, if you don't feel like you're naturally a good manager, or you're struggling on things, just know that you're in you're in good company. So um, so when I mentioned the boss to coach, so the boss image tells more than it asks, speaks versus listens, and just cares about the task. As I said, they care about the product, not the people. So the world is shifting, and particularly, with millennials, you hear that expression, I don't know if you heard it, quiet quitting. So many people have had revelations after COVID, like, do I really want to do this? Or, do I really want to work for this jerk? Or, what people are seeking more meaningful work. So when you're a coach, you ask more than you tell. You listen to understand, and you care about the person, not particularly the product. So I looked at a lot of employee engagement information. In this case, I'm focusing on that Q12 survey, which is in your book. I asked you to read the first 3. And but a lot of them, I've read a lot of employee engagement surveys, that kind of thing, but they all kind of boil down to the same types of things. And researchers is common denominators, I think. And I mean, there's some things that are a little different based on with so much remote, that doesn't pertain to us, but so much remote work now, that comes into play a lot. I mean, that's not applicable for us. So but basically, let's just think about these as the common denominators for humans in the workplace. These books, so you have It's the Manager, the Gallup Well-Being at Work. It basically talks about the 5 things that people really need in their lives, is to have a sense of well-being. And First Break All the Rules, that's a great book by Marcus Buckingham. And what it does is he was one of the founding fathers of the strengths assessment that you took. And so he wrote this book. It is all about managers and some of their unique ways, using their strengths, how they've used their strengths in unique ways to be successful. All excellent books that I highly recommend. So let's talk about engagement. So we can bundle it into 3 buckets. So engaged, not engaged, and actively disengaged. So interesting fact, you need 5 engaged employees to offset 1 disengaged employee. So if you have 1 bad apple, you need 5 to counteract them. And 51% of people who are actively searching for a job, they want a quality job, and they believe it's somewhere out there. So keep that in mind when I know, like, when I'm interviewing people, I definitely talk about in like when I'm out looking for nutrition interns, I definitely say this is a quality of life job that we have here. You know what I mean? Like, I try to have them see beyond it just being, a lunch lady. It's so much more than a lunch lady. So trying to express the meaningfulness and how important it is, the work that we do, definitely is a great way to frame, as a manager, get up on your soapbox and talk about that stuff. So let's talk about the engaged people. We mentioned this at the beginning. Now these statistics are from Gallup. They do a research about employee engagement. Only 15% of people in the world are engaged. In America. So these are the people, that I mentioned, ideally, right? They work with passion. They're really connected to work, and those are the people who drive innovation. They are the ones with the great ideas and move the organization forward. They are most likely to stay on the job. They perform at a consistent high level, and I just can't believe it's this low. It's terrible. So let's change that, shall we? So this is really terrible. 67% of the workforce are essentially, they're checked out, just going through the day, putting in their time, not enough energy to you know, in their work. An expression I've heard that was interesting is they've quit working, but they're still showing up every day. So I'm sure you have some of those people or have experienced those people. They meet just the minimum requirements of the job. There's no over and above. They leave exactly on time, no extra, unless, they might say, well, you're not going to get any more out of me, or unless you pay me, that kind of stuff. Or they'll say things like, well, that's above my pay grade, or it's not my problem. Those are the disengaged kind of statements. And then there's this terrible lot. Actively disengaged. So not only unhappy at work, but they're acting out their unhappiness, and they're actively trying to undermine what each other is trying to accomplish. And of these 18%, only 8% of these have no plans of leaving. Like, I think it's their mission to make people miserable. They tend to be resentful. They tend to be entitled. They can sabotage things, new initiatives or new ideas. And it basically brings down the morale. And I think that, the expression, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you are in this pot of people who are all negative, it rubs off. You can't help it. And so it shows up very clearly. It's very prevalent in hourly type work situations, which, we are in. And they tend to vent their frustrations because they feel like management does not listen to them or doesn't care. So, and I think what we all fall prey to, like, as we talked about trying to fix weaknesses, we tend to give the bad employee or the bad egg all the time, all your time and attention, right? Where attention goes, energy flows. So if you're, constantly focusing on that bad employee, all your good employees are going to say, what the hell, I'm here showing up every day, but, this, so-and-so is getting all the attention. And what the best managers do, and this is what research has shown, the best managers focus on their engaged employees because they see them as the greatest route or greatest potential to exceed expectations. So, I mean, you should definitely, and not to say just blow off these actively disengaged people, but you should attempt to learn what is the source of their disengagement. Like, where does it stem from? It could be decades old that someone pissed them off, 15 years ago, and they haven't gotten over it. And, I think that is basically trying to get to the bottom of their disengagement or unhappiness to help improve the morale overall. So, I'm going to get into the first 3. I'm just going to take a sip of water. So Q1 is, I know what's expected of me at work. So, we all have, we all should be playing by the same rules and expectations, right? Meaning, like, do you have clear, accurate job descriptions that are current? Do you give clear instructions as the manager? Like, is there any, are you wishy-washy, or, do you have trouble with that? Do you know how your role is defined? Like, do you have a clear job description? Duh. And you know, you clear on what your role is, your responsibilities on any given day. So this is super important to know what's expected of you, and for your staff to too, because that is what's going to clear up misconceptions or whatever. So here are some best practices: clear job descriptions, communicating expectations. You can't expect people to read your mind. And I think a lot of times people need repeated instructions. I mean, I know I do. Like I'm forgetful. You can't assume, all right? You know what they say about assume. And you should always like leave the door open for them to ask questions if they have any questions at all. And then giving frequent feedback. So when issues occur, it's best not to let them fester or wait to discuss them. Best to address them right there and then, and so that your employee learns what your expectations are, right? Got to keep it clear. So Q2, I have the materials and equipment I need to do my work right. So, I mean, is everything breaking down in your kitchen, or people fighting over carts or knives or silly stuff like that? You know, invest in the program. You know, when my staff says they need something, and if it's within my financial means, like if it's not, you know, $20,000, I'm on it. I buy it like immediately, because without your proper tools, you can't do your job at the best level, right? It can be frustrating. It's time consuming. Sometimes we find workarounds that, you know, because we're a group of people who are like problem solvers, right? We just figure out how to get it done. But you know, what's been wonderful for me as a director with COVID and the increased reimbursements and meals, like I actually have money in my account. You know, I mean, I went through my career for 25 years of pinching pennies, you know, and so it's so nice to have the resources. Same goes for staffing levels. Like I know it's been so hard working short staff. Everybody's been doing it. But definitely making sure you have enough people to get the job done is so important. I keep an eye on my meals per labor hour and just try to definitely fill all those spots. You know, and you got to think about, you're freeing your staff from unnecessary stress. You know, I mean, the work is stressful enough. If you don't have the equipment you need, or the food you need, or the people you need, it's stressful. So some best practices: listen, observe, or anticipate your employees' needs. Look around. If you see, oh my God, they need floor mats, or you know, that cart has a broken wheel, let's get on that. And definitely advocate for those things that you need with your food service director. And you know, sometimes be creative. I mean, sometimes and we are creative and resourceful, I think. I mean, I know my staff has been, but you know, as a manager, if you're not able to provide that, you know, you could say, look, I tried, or just be transparent. Like, I tried, but it costs too much, or we're not able to do that right now. And you know, sometimes being creative and resourceful and tapping into your employees for their idea and input is a great thing. That's you'll find out one of the cues that comes up is seeking out someone's opinion about stuff is great for employee engagement. And so number 3, at work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day. So this is, you know, the basis of the strengths-based philosophy, right? When you do what you're good at, the best at, that's when you're going to have the most success. So the same is true for your staff. So, you could ask your staff if they feel like they have their opportunity to do their best. So remember, strengths are patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behavior that you can productively apply for success, right? So when you're in the flow, when you lose
Mhm.
track of time, in the zone, that's what you want. So again, strengths equals your talents, your natural born talents, plus knowledge and skills. So people who work in the strength zone, this is a review for you, but I think the more you hear it, the more it sinks in. I know that's how I work and learn. They're more People who are in the strength zone are more efficient, they're happier, they're more productive, they're more satisfied with work. Because when you're doing what you're naturally good at, you're more successful because you just do it without thinking. It's very innate, as we say. That the 3 E's, remember, ease, excellence, and enjoyment. That's what we want. We want that for everybody who we work with. That's what working in the strength zone feels like, that losing track of time, or that yearning. When can I do that again? That was fun. I love that. I love doing that kind of stuff. And sometimes, of course, all the time, there are parts of our job that we hate, or we don't like, or we don't do well. Identifying what that is, that I don't know if I showed you that image, but if you just keep track, say, one day, of all the tasks you do, of what you love and what you loathe, LOATHE, hate, you know, if you develop a list like that, can you find a complementary partner to do some of that stuff you hate doing, right? So 60% of employees feel that this is very important, on the job. When I'm at my job, I want to be able to be doing my best, because let's face it, if people are doing their best, you're less likely to get negative feedback, right? Because you're going to be in the zone, you're going to be doing things well. And when people rate this element high, that they get to do this at work, they tend to stay on the job, no surprise. They tell people they work for a great company or a great organization. And, weakness fixing, here we go, is not the answer. So we see limited to no progress when we try to go down that route of fixing weaknesses in ourselves and the people we manage. So, and that's what we tend to do, but we got to break that. So here are some best practices. So looking for that opportunity for individuals to use their strengths. Now, I know, like, Gina, your strengths of your staff because they've taken the assessment, and some of you don't have that luxury. It would be awesome if you could it would be very enlightening for you if you could get your staff to take their strengths assessment. Because it's going to help you. I know for me as a manager, knowing all my staff strengths has been phenomenal. Like, I have one person who, she has deliberative high. So, I know that I know who has deliberative high. And so they need time to think and process things. And I know people who have adaptability high. I can go to those adaptability people on the fly and ask them to change something or do something, and I know they'll be okay with it. The delivery people, not so much. So knowing those very basic things about how people think, feel, and behave is amazing when you're managing people. So, looking for opportunities for somebody to use their strengths. If somebody is like a chatty Cathy or friendly or, super positive, they should definitely be like the front facing person interacting with kids. And then, play I Spy. When you see great things happening, when you see a behavior that is really excellent, you should do not wait, point that out. And let them know that what you just did right there, that was awesome, because that will then reinforce and encourage those types of behaviors. And just like that, making that connection, how their strengths contribute to the success of the operation. You know, definitely that I Spy stuff.
Mhm.
You know, I do it with my own staff, I do it with my family, my friends. When I see strengths in action, I always make note of it. So, you know, even amongst yourself, I know that we have quite a few people from Dedham, quite a few people from New Bedford. You know, I challenge you, if you see strengths in action amongst your peers, you should definitely talk about it. So I'm gonna stop there. Does um, anybody have any thoughts about what I just talked about, or comments or anything you've noticed in your world?
Mm,
Hello,
Who's that?
Sheila
Hi,
from North
Sheila.
Harbor. Hi. So I was noticing when some of those things that you were going over, I recently had the experience of having a manager from one of the other schools come over and sort of shadow us. And I remember I said to her, I don't know, it's the same way. She said, they think I'm just, there's a difference between being a boss and being bossy. And it kind of stuck because then I realized that there is a big difference with that. And to get them to, you know, us staff, and I said, she said to me, how do you get them to do stuff? Or, and I said, well, I said, they do it because they want to, or they understand why. I said, I don't just say to someone, you know, I need your numbers after every lunch. Explain to them, well, I need these numbers to make sure that, you know, I can batch cook for you. You have the food out so it goes smoother for you. So I can definitely see how you can engage your employees into, you know, I think I just did that naturally, wish that wasn't her natural progression to sort of see like that happen. But it does certainly help. And if you're not already doing it, I suggest that you sort of break down why you do things with your employees, because some of them do need to know why. You're just, you know, it's not that you're being bitchy or bossy, it's just an actual thing that you need to do.
mhm,
Excellent
Right.
point. So true. Anybody else have any observation? Anybody have any disengaged employees?
mm-mm.
We had one that finally left after Thanksgiving, that was that bottom category, like completely disengaged, and was literally, like you said, wasn't looking to leave, was literally just looking to make trouble. And she took the whole, it was funny that you said it took 5 to balance it, because there were only 3 others of us, and the kitchen had been a mess for months. We couldn't figure out why. And once she left, it was like, but everything's better now. What? I don't get, we're short staffed and we're still, she just was not a good fit.
They can really wreak havoc.
Yeah, it was bad.
And it's so hard to not focus on them perpetually, right? But
Yeah. So we were glad to see her go.
I know, like, I'm sure, like, just this, probably this weight has been lifted, right?
Yeah, nobody is upset about doing a little more to keep us going. And I will say, the things that she brought to the forefront were learning lessons, and we're doing some things differently now because of how she reacted to stuff, that has made our kitchen stronger and better in the long run. So we take some good out of it. And that's the only reason that we're kind of all okay with the fact that she was there for 3 months.
Well, that's good, though. I mean,
Yeah.
you did the silver lining and learned. That's excellent. Excellent. Anybody else want to chime in? Have any war stories? Karen?
Hi. So I can tell you a story that there's only 4 of us in our kitchen. We only have kindergarten 1 and 2 at my school. And one of the girls is new this year. And I thought, you know, she was trained on the register to bring in the students. And I thought she enjoyed it. She was always friendly to the students coming through and whatnot. So, you know, we would rotate the different stations. We have 2 on the register and 2 serving. And one of the other girls came to me the other day and she said, she hates being on the register. And I said, really? I said, I wouldn't have thought that because she doesn't give off any sort of vibe but she's quiet because she's would ask her, do you mind, jumping on register or whatever? And she'd always say, no, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. And then come to find out that, she hates it, but it is part of the job. So, I'm kind of like, well, she has to go on the register because we rotate, and trying to be fair, I don't want to say, well, okay, you don't have to go on register because you don't like it.
Right.
So, it's hard because, I'm like, all right, do I address it with her and just say, sorry, but that is part of the rotation, like, or what exactly is it that you don't like being on the register? I don't know.
Yeah, I would ask her that. But I mean, I think rotating, that's fair. It's a fair way to handle it. At least she's not on it 180 days, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think that's a good way to handle it.
And
It's
kind
so
of like
hard.
there's parts of the job that everybody doesn't like,
Exactly. Yeah, so excellent. Anybody else? So are we ready to go into our breakout rooms? Okay, did everybody get to look at their reports, first of all? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we have what? How many we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right. So what I want you to do, if you have your report right in front of you, your manager's report, which does everybody have that in front of you? Yes. Okay. So I literally just want you in your little group that you randomly are assigned to just talk about those little boxes below the questions that are asked. Let me just find one. Sorry. So, just these questions, these reflection questions, I just want you to like all take a turn and talk to people in your group about it. So we have about a half hour to do that. So I'm gonna send you out and I'm gonna bebop into the rooms. So I've never done this before, so wish me luck. So I'm gonna do 3 rooms. Here we go.